Wait. What is this shit?
The Not Safe for F***ing Worker Placement podcast.
I flipped the board. I despise that game. Oh, shit. That sounds like... Oh, wait.
Welcome to episode number 4 of the Not Safe for Worker Placement podcast, board game podcast, brought to you by me, Ben.
And me, Leandra.
We're married and we're here to talk shit about board games. So here we go, episode number 4, off and running. 1, 2, and 3 were great successes, and we're famous all across the world, especially in Mexico. And you can find us in any country in the world at NSFWPpodcast.com and on Facebook at NSFWP Podcast and on Twitter at NSFWP Podcast. So, babe, what do you think about our success as a podcast so far?
I think Mexico loves us.
I think so too. I think it's awesome.
So Ben paid for our third episode.
Oh, don't give up all the trade secrets, babe.
Well, second episode. Well, you boosted it.
Yeah,
so it was an advertisement. It was a good thing. You boosted the ad. So, and when you boosted the ad, it went to Mexico?
Yeah, you can choose where you want it to go, and I have no idea what I'm doing.
They love
so I was like,
shit.
I'll pay a little bit of money to like boost our posts, for each episode. So you set a budget for how much you want to spend, and depending on how many people you reach. Well, for some reason, I don't know if we're just very, very popular with teenage Mexican children, which I can't imagine that's true. I hope it is, but I mean, I will take an audience where I can get an audience, and I will welcome them into the fold. But I don't know if maybe it's a cultural thing where they just like everything that comes on their page there, or if like Facebook is somehow has a pay to play like thing to like everything. I don't know, because we got like very little response from anywhere else. I did like the US, Canada,
but we had over
Europe.
like 1,000 likes or
Not
1,000
likes, but
views.
1,000 views. Yeah, I mean it translated pretty good, but it was awesome because it was just like Mexican teenager after Mexican teenager after Mexican teenager. It was like very weird. So I mean,
so thank you.
Yes,
thank you.
Gracias, babe. Gracias.
Yeah, gracias. Yes.
There you go. So anyway, we're famous. We're bigger in Mexico than like sugared Coke. So we're really killing it down there. Anything else? Just brewing off the top here?
No, not really.
Not really? Oh,
I'll save it for the IRL stuff.
Okay. Well, I guess we'll then move on into what we do every week, which is talk about games we've been playing. We really haven't played that much in the last couple of weeks. Everything's been busy. You went out of town to Nashville, and how'd that go? How'd that trip go?
It went pretty good. Had the managers meeting, and they didn't slay me with tons of questions and complaints, so I thought that was, hey, I'll take it.
All anybody cares about is the parties.
Really? Yeah,
the meetings.
afterwards.
Jeez, babe.
So we went to Tootsie's in Nashville. I guess that's like the big place to go. So that was fun. We had a good time.
Cool.
Yep.
You made friends
and
with
the owner
locals
actually paid for a party bus. So
hey,
all of us were able to get there safely and return back to the hotel safely. So
this is key. This is always key.
Yes.
Party hard, but party safe.
Party safe.
Okay. That's it for that PSA. But when you got back, we tried to carve out some time since we now have a reason to play games, which I'm loving this, by the way. I'm loving the fact that you come home and say, we need to play some games, babe. And I'm like, wait,
what's happening?
Where is my wife? What have you done with her? And who are you? I'm like, peel your face off like A-Team style.
Thank you.
But so you said that the other night, and I pulled out a couple of small games that are right up your alley. So I got a game called Holmes, Sherlock, and Mycroft. And that is published by DeVere and designed by, what's that guy's name? Diego something or other. Let me see, babe.
I don't know.
Diego Ibanez. And sounds like one of those guys who are liking our post.
Yeah.
And it is a really cool 2-player only worker placement / set collection game, I would say, with the Sherlock theme about Sherlock matching wits with his brother Mycroft. So, that's part of the whole mythology is who's smarter, Sherlock or Mycroft, And so tell a little bit about how it works, babe.
Well, you have to make sets, so colored sets, and you have
these, of cards, right?
Of cards, yes, and it's a card game. and then you have these special powers that you can max out per round, and you only have so many rounds, and it was really fun. Like you have to. I mean, it's not like a really deep thinking game or anything, but if you think of, you only have, was it 3 pieces?
Three
So
pawns.
3 moves for each round, and so you were able to do 3 actions. And so, if I move that card here, if I move my guy here, then I'll be able to use that same one next time. Because there were a few that were powerhouse moves.
So basically, you start out with a certain number of powers out on the board, and they're cards, and more cards get added every turn. You get 1 more card. It's like a day of the week for the investigation that you're trying to do. And each one of those cards is a character that has a special ability on it. And you can take your little meeple of your color, of which, like you said, you have 3, and place it on there. But the rule is when you place it on there and you lay it face down so you know it's been activated, and you take that action. But you can never go to a place where you already have your color meeple there. I can go where you have your meeple, but I can't go where I have my meeple. So it becomes strategic of where am I going to move to so that I can open up a place and go there, later on in this turn or something like that. And they're all about just how you get cards, because there are face-up cards and there's a deck of face-down cards, and and you have to pay usually to get a card, these little magnifying glass tokens. And depending on the different actions that you take, you have to spend different amounts to get different amounts of cards. And then you're just trying to get the most cards, right?
Well, yeah. And then one power available was screw thy neighbor. So I'm going to pay X amount of magnifying glasses to steal my wife's cards. And so that's what he did. And then he won.
Yeah. And it's a lot you have to pay to do that. But it was pretty good because I would wait till I knew you couldn't do it back to me in the round because you didn't have enough magnifying glasses to do it.
But that's the only reason why you won, is because you stole.
Well, I played by the rules of the game and played strategically and smartly and won the game. Yeah. So I won that one, but what did you think about it?
I liked it. I wanted to play again, even though I lost.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. I liked it. I want to play again.
Okay. So that's a really cool 2-player game. And then after that, it didn't take very long. So I thought, hey, why not push my luck? Because I let her pick from these 2 games. And I said, why not push my luck? And hey, let's play this other one. That one only took, 25 minutes to play. And so what did we pull out then after that?
I'm going to say the name correctly because I've been saying it incorrectly for the last 2 days, and he's been making fun of me. It's San Juan, and it's also a card
I thought
game.
it was San Jose.
Shut up, Ben.
Or San Francisco.
San Jose. I've been calling it San Jose.
It's a game about California and surfing.
No, it is not.
What is it about, babe?
Let me look at the back of it.
It's kind of an oldie but a goodie. What San Juan is... it's designed by Andre Seferith, I think, and it's a card game version of one of the granddaddies of Euro games, which is Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is a really cool game. I actually think you would like it. It's very similar to that game that we played, San Juan. It's got a couple more layers on it, but San Juan's a pretty simple engine building game, and that tends to be something that you usually really like.
I really like it. You have to get the different houses for the different types of material. There was like tobacco and coffee, and wasn't there silver and
tobacco or indigo, sugar, tobacco, coffee, and silver?
Yeah,
I think those are the type of production buildings you can build.
Yes, and then on top of having those available to produce your goods with, you had the power cards that allowed you extra movements or extra cards, and I got a very lucky hand, and in my cards I was able to produce an extra good. I was able to draw an extra card, and there was one other thing I was able to do.
You were able to sell an extra good.
Good.
So the basic mechanism is the cool thing that the key to this game and to Puerto Rico that a lot of other games I've used and where it really stood out from the pack in games was its role selection, where there's these 5 roles out there, and every turn someone picks that role. And when they pick that role, they get to do that action, but also everybody else gets to do that action. But you get to do a bonus thing when you pick it because you're the person who gets the privilege of pick because you pick that action. And that is especially in a 2-player game, I think, is very strategic because there's always going to be 2 that don't get picked. There's only going to be 3 that get picked every round. So you can be strategic on what do I pick first? What do I try to make sure doesn't get done? Which action?
That's right. And actually, my other powerhouse card was whenever it's my turn to have the privileged power, I got to do that twice.
Yeah, and it was you built an engine that was, I thought I was doing pretty well But I wasn't getting those. There's these purple cards, is what she's talking about, to have the special abilities, and the ones you had just all played off of each other, and like it seemed like every role that was picked, no matter if I picked it, you were doing more than me. Even when I would do the bonus, you would still end up doing more than me, producing more than me,
those
making more
types
than me.
of games.
Yeah, you did a really good job building your engine up, and it was I think the first game we played, the Holmes game, I won by 6 points.
Mm-hmm.
And then in this game, you won by 8 points. So you pretty much skunked, because it's a pretty tight game. Like you can really see what your opponent's doing and try to work against it. But
well, I like them both, and I can't wait to play them again.
so we give San Juan a thumbs up, I would say, and Holmes, Sherlock, and Mycroft. Then last night, I had another opportunity to play a game. We invited Vaughn over, and I think I set this game up for failure because I was really excited to play it because I've wanted this game for a long time, and I found a good deal on it finally on eBay, and I got it, and I was just so excited to play it. And I had read the rules. The rules didn't totally make sense. Just reading them, I was like, this is a game I'm going to have to get set up and look at everything in motion and figure out how it works, right? It's a cooperative game called Banner Saga Warbands, and it's based on an iOS game called Banner Saga, which there's 3 different installments of, I believe. And I played the first 2. They're excellent tactical games with some resource management and stuff. And I thought it would be up our alley because the whole idea is it's a cooperative game with 4 different roles, possible roles that you can play, and every role works completely different than the other, but they all need to work together in order to succeed at the missions. And it's basically about this Viking clan in a mythological, folkloric type of setting, traveling with their war band across the countryside and running into problems and bandits and stuff like that. 2 things I think worked against this game. 1, the rule book is terrible.
It's terrible.
The game itself, after I figured out how it actually worked, I really liked it. I really did. And Vaughn agreed after we were done that he would like to play it again. It was the ambiguity of the rules, not whenever we would want to know something and we couldn't find it in the rule book because it just simply wasn't there. Like the rules for each role, the only place they are printed is on the opposite side of your roll board.
Which makes no sense.
No sense at all. It's
because you have all of your pieces all lined up where it's supposed to be, and then you have to take everything down and then flip it over to read and then take a picture of where your pieces were.
Yeah,
the whole setup, I didn't care for it one little bit. It was hard to learn. The rules being on the back of your character page. I mean, it was just, I don't want to play it again.
It's a game that is designed by a company called Megacon Games that's kind of infamous for having bad rule books. They came out with a huge, like, $1 million Kickstarter campaign a few years ago for a game called Myth, and it released with such bad rules that the game was, like, unplayable. But they stuck it through and rewrote the rules, and people, because there was enough people that were interested in it. And this game, someone has already online rewritten the rules, and I found that out, after trying to read through the rules and figure it out. So I'm going to download the new rules, and someone has made a campaign of it. Now, I know you probably will never play it again.
I will never play it again.
But Vaughn has, showed some interest in trying to play it again, and I really like the idea of those asymmetric roles and how they play off each other. And I think it will work if you can figure out how, I think it'll work really well and even more smoothly. Because it also has that cool. Did you like anything about the game? Like, what about the tactical combat? What about the miniatures?
I like the miniatures. The miniatures were badass.
Miniatures were really cool.
Yeah,
that's kind of what they're known for. Like, they were a miniatures game company before. They're not necessarily known for their designs. I actually think that the game design is good. It's just the ability to get through it because the rules are so bad and just not there.
Well, if you start a campaign with Vaughn and whoever, you need to make sure you make a copy of the backside of the character cards.
That's something that you shouldn't have to do. But I need to basically scan the backsides of the cards and then print them out because literally you put all your chits on the front of your player board, like, to track all your stuff. And then if you need to know how to play your character, It's not in the rule book.
No.
It's on the back of your card. It's the dumbest thing ever.
I think there was like a short little
yeah,
blurb
synopsis,
about it,
but it doesn't.
nothing.
Even on the back of the card, it doesn't do a very good job of explaining exactly how everything works.
It frustrated me more than anything. Like
Yeah.
every time we needed to do anything, it was open the rule book or
Yep.
take, I was like,
Yep.
okay, I'm done with this.
It was very unintuitive. But I will say this, like, I'll throw you under the bus a little bit, not throwing you under the
Thanks.
bus, but I will say that I'm kind of glad I didn't pull out another game. Well, I don't know. You were sleepy and you had that idea of like, it was like,
sleepy.
it didn't really matter what we were going to play. I had a feeling you were not going to have the greatest of time, but it just happened to also be a game that was like slow to learn and stuff. So somebody was sleepy and then they, so you were kind of checked out of it. So I think that had a little bit to do with it. Maybe if I had waited till A, I found the right rules that work better, and B, was a time where we had a little, wasn't so late at night, we might have enjoyed it more. But I still think it has promise, and I want to, try to expand on the playing of it a little bit, but I know you won't. So that was Banner Saga Warbands from MegaCon Games. I think it's got potential, but as it is out of the box, it's pretty hard to play. So that's pretty much everything we've been playing. We were contacted, babe, you might not know this, by the Podcasters Association of America.
What?
Who saw us as a up-and-coming
No,
podcast.
they did not.
Yeah, they did.
Why didn't you tell me this?
Well, because then they sent along this PSA that we're going to play here. They asked us if we would play this PSA.
Okay.
And, I think you might record it for them. And we're going to throw to that right now. It's a very important topic in the board game media world. And it's a message that really needs to get out. So let's go to that right now.
Hi, this is international podcast celebrity Leandra here to level with some of my male podcasting counterparts. Fellas, it's perfectly acceptable for you to adore your significant other, or your children, or even your pets. But for the love of all that is holy, please stop saying that you adore board games. The more you know, the further you'll go.
All right. We're back from that very important message. I hope everyone takes that to heart. Now we're going to move on to our feature segment of the day, and that is co-op games. Babe, we've played a lot of co-op games over the years.
We have.
It's I really like co-op games. I think that especially it seems easier to get a game to the table when it's not I'm going to teach you how to play it so that we can beat each other over the head and try to win game. It's easier to start teaching it, I think, when it's like we're all working together. So forgive rules, mess ups, and everything else because, hey, we're trying to win together, stuff like that. I think that's a good thing about co-op games. What do you like about co-op games?
I get to play with you.
Oh, baby. You're too sweet. Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about some of your favorite co-op games? What's the first one on your list?
It's a little simple card game called The Game, actually.
The worst name in all of board gaming.
It's called The Game.
The Game.
Yes.
The Game is published by IDW, and it came out in 2015, I think. And we played this game quite a bit, huh? You play this on your own with other people?
With my sister. Yeah, it's fun. It's a number. So we have one stack that's 1 to 100, and the other stack that goes from 100 to 1. And so the idea of the game is you divide out all the cards, and you have to get them in the stack in numerical order before you get to the top of the list or the bottom of the list. So if you start off at 1 and it goes to 100 before you get to 100, and then the other side starts at 100 and goes to 1.
Everybody needs to get rid of all their cards.
Everyone needs to get rid of all of your cards, and if you do that, then you win.
I
don't think I've ever actually won.
Oh, yeah, you have. We've won. We
Have
won every
we?
time we played together, yeah.
No, we don't.
We won almost every time. Yeah. There may be one time we played together, but yeah, it's not that. 2 players, it actually is pretty easy. This is a game that gets much harder the more players because there's 2 tricky rules in it. The tricky rule is
the 10 increment thing.
The 10 increment. So if you can either jump back if you play a card that is exactly 10 difference, then you can jump that number back which is good for giving yourself more room to, because if you're getting up to like the 70s or 80s, then you want to pay something that's exactly 10 ahead so that you can jump back that number and have more room between, you know, your 70 and 100. And then the other thing, or you can do it the opposite way, going down. You can jump back the other way. But the other rule is that you can't talk.
Mm-mm.
You're not supposed
So
to.
you
You can
can't
talk,
say,
but you can't say exactly.
Oh, I have like the pile says it's 70, and you can't say, oh, I have 69. I have, or whatever.
Yeah, or I have 71. You
Yeah,
can't say
you
that,
can't
but you
say
can
that.
say, don't touch that pile.
Yeah.
Don't play on that. No one touch that, because you don't want them to play past
But
that, and then
sometimes
you're
you don't
stuck.
have a choice. And
Yeah, and
then,
sometimes
and then
somebody's
you
like, I
put a
have to.
40 down there, and then you've lost 20 cards in
Yeah.
between, and it can be it's challenging and
And
frustrating.
the more players you have, the harder it is, because it's trying to coordinate a whole more hands of cards, and more people to try to get on the same wavelength. I think it's really cool. I think it was I do believe it was nominated for Game of the Year in the German Game of the Year a couple of years ago in
Really?
2015. Yeah. I don't know if it won or not, but I'm pretty sure it was nominated for the Spiel des Jahres or something. So, for a very simple game of a deck of 200 cards, it's a really, really fun brain teaser type of game. I really like it as a co-op. So that's the game by IDW. Next, we're going to go from the small micro game to the big production game. And that is Legends of Andor, which is one of my all-time favorite co-op games. We don't play it as much as I would like because it suffers from the problem that I have with a lot of my games, which is the expansion bloat, which is as soon as I buy an expansion for a game, it seems to be the death knell of that game. Like, we never play it again once I get the expansion.
Well, that's because then it turns around and takes you 45 minutes just to set it up.
Well, that game, another thing about this game is it takes a long time to set up anyway, because what the idea of it is it's a fantasy adventure game. It's designed by Michael Menzel and published by Cosmos. Actually, the version we have is by Fantasy Flight, but now it's by Cosmos. Michael Menzel is one of the best artists in board games. He does, if you think of a Euro game, he does the artwork for it. Pillars of the Earth, Settlers of Catan, that new game Ulm we have. He's just done Stone Age. He's done the artwork for some of the biggest titles in board games. And he set out to design his own game and do all of the artwork and all the design and all the graphic design and everything from the ground up. And he came up with this idea of, it's sort of similar to like Defenders of the Realm. It's a game about fantasy adventurers that have to protect the castle from these invading hordes of monsters. But it throws in a wrinkle of you're using time. Every action you do takes time. And you run out of time in a day. So whenever you run out of time in a day, you can't do any more actions. And then the monsters all activate and they start moving towards the castle. And then when they intersect with you, you have to fight them. So you have to fight them off. And in the meantime, you've got objectives that you have to do. So there's these story cards that are along the side of the board, and each mission has a different story that you'll read out. Maybe you'll have to go search through the fog to try to find a certain thing to take to a certain set of ingredients to take to the witch, or you'll find a magic well that will give you some more time or some more life or something, or you'll find a vendor that you can buy supplies from, and those supplies are stuff like better weapons, like bows and swords and helmets. And like, what did you have? Like I
think I had a falcon.
Yeah, like a falcon that could like grab check tokens that were farther away from you. So it's a very thematic game that tries to make it a wide variety of things that can happen. There's 1,000 tokens, and there's a standee for every character, and they're all hand painted and double-sided, and every character has a male and a female side, which is really cool.
Which I like, because a lot of times they only offer female characters and the cute little rangers, or and it's like, now I was the big buff.
Yeah, you can
big
be the
buff
brawler.
chick.
Every single role has a male and a female side, which is really cool. And then this game also has something, and the reason it doesn't get to the table more often is, like I was talking about, is it's got some print and play expansions. I've got 3 box expansions, 2 little ones that have just a bunch more characters, and one entire new campaign, which is another double-sided board that you have like a ship and you're sailing around a ship. I mean, so awesome. But every time you take it out to set it up, it takes like, 30, 40 minutes to just get started in the game, which to me, even though I love it when I'm playing it, it's one of my favorite games. It's such a barrier to get it started and get it going. I mean, I need to just get over that and maybe come up with a better storage solution,
or just leave it up for a couple days and we can just play it for a while.
That's a really good idea. That is something.
Since we have this awesome table, we might as well just leave it up.
That's true. So I think we need to get some Legends of Andor back out to the table pretty soon. So that was Legends of Andor by Michael Menzel and published now by Cosmos. Babe, what's next on your list?
I think it's safe to say next on our list is both of our favorite co-op game, which has already been mentioned before in Mice and Mystics.
Yeah, Mice and Mystics. We talked about it at length on episode 1. It's published by Plaid Hat Games and designed by Jerry Hawthorne.
Just like we said before, I'm not going to take too much time on it since we have already talked about it, but it's just my favorite. I love it.
It's another fantasy themed, but it's fantasy where you play mice and everyone has been transformed into animals in this castle and you have to go around and try to solve the mystery of why this Venestra sorceress turned you and herself and everyone else into animals. And
I really like that it has the audio story too. So and it has not just like the same voice. It's like they make all the different voices for all the characters.
Yeah, we talked about that. That's Rich Summer, and he does it. It's like he does an audiobook reading of it, kind of where he does a voice for every character, and he sticks with that.
I like that.
Yeah, it's really cool. And like I said, we've only scratched the surface of that game too. Even though we've been playing it for 3 years,
we have been.
We still haven't got through the base game because every time we play it, it's an all-day affair.
We're there for 4 or 5 hours.
But I have fun the whole time.
I love it.
So that's Mice and Mystics. We've talked about it ad nauseum. So just go out and get it if you don't have it. I actually heard that Jerry is going to announce his new game project at Gen Con this year, coming up this month. And I'm hoping it's an expansion or some sort of spin-off from Mice and Mystics. He did Tail Feathers, which was kind of an X-Wing spin on Mice and Mystics. And I have it, but we've never played it because, again, it's a whole different game. It's not really, it's in the universe, but it's a whole different game. I'm hoping he does some kind of like spin-off of Mice and Mystics that's the same type of game.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I guess we'll see about that in a couple of weeks when Gen Con hits. Next, we're going to talk about another older one of the first games we got, Eldritch Horror. It's a big, huge, sprawling Cthulhu mythos game by Fantasy Flight that tries to be everything that Arkham Horror wasn't, which was bloated and huge and complicated. Eldritch Horror is more streamlined, and it's not based in one single town. It's based over the entire world. So you're traveling to Shanghai to New York.
Huge.
Yes, the map is huge, and you'll never play the same game twice of that game. There's so many cards and so many different encounters that can happen, and so many different monster types that can come out. And it's basically your traditional type of co-op game where the game is trying as hard as it can to kill you at every turn, and you're just trying to mitigate the risks and not let the old one wake up. Because if it does happen, then bad things usually, occur. Like everything will become incrementally harder and then at some point impossible to win, So it's that ticking clock mechanism. And, the only thing about this game is that's weird to me, that makes me feel like we've been playing it wrong this whole time, is that I hear all the time how hard that game is. And we've never lost.
Hard, but we always win.
We always win. I mean, maybe we're just super smart. I like to think we're borderline geniuses.
We're a good co-op team, baby.
We are. But we've never lost it, which is weird, I think. So I'm not exactly sure I'm playing it exactly right. But also I've heard that it gets, again, exponentially harder the more players that you have.
If we've not lost it, I'd say we're playing it pretty damn awesome.
Yeah, you're right. We shouldn't change anything. So as far as Cthulhu games go, I think it might have been surpassed now with Mansions of Madness, but still, as far as like, if you got a whole day to play a game, you got 2 or 3 hours to play a big game and you want to have that kind of, globe-trotting adventure style game, it's pretty good like that. It's a really cool adventure style game.
So Can I interject a game that I just thought of that's co-op, because we were talking earlier about what's some fun co-op games, and I just remembered one.
What's that?
Zombicide.
Yeah,
That's a co-op, and I remembered the name of the game, and it was
It
fun.
would have been hard for you to bring it. Well, I guess you could have just said that one game with the zombies. Yeah, you could have said that.
But that was that's a fun co-op game.
It is. The thing about Zombicide for me is that, well, there's been a better version made now, which is the Zombicide Black Plague, which Vaughn has and our friend Craig has.
Have
and
I played that one?
Everything. No, you haven't played the new version. And it's actually much better. It's kind of set in a fantasy setting, but with the same mechanisms as Zombicide. I like Zombicide because it was good to bring out with anybody.
Yeah.
Anyone could play it.
We brought it to Sue's house, which is my aunt, and we played with my cousins who've never played board games before, and you know, a whole bunch of we had 6 different people that had never really played board games before, and they had a blast. They went back to Connecticut and was telling the family how much fun they had playing games with us. So I think that's great.
Zombicide was good. To me, it just became, well, the real thing reason I got rid of it is because I got the Ghostbusters board game, which is essentially the exact same game. Some would say not as good as Zombicide, and it's probably not. But it's so similar that I just love the Ghostbusters theme so much. I've been the biggest Ghostbusters fan my whole life. So with that game, with the cool miniatures and stuff that it had in it, I was going to buy it regardless of how good the game was. And it's almost identical mechanism-wise to Zombicide. So I didn't figure I needed both of them. And it became good trade fodder, and I traded it off for something else, But everybody I know has Zombicide and everything for it. So Craig has everything there is. If you want to play Zombicide, he's got it, and every expansion that they make.
Craig has every game ever
That's
made.
True. Craig has over 1,000 games. So Zombicide, you're right. It's a really good co-op, especially for entry level players. Anybody can play that game. Anybody can learn that game. And it is fun. I really enjoy it. We still play it from time to time. Craig has always wanted to break it out. So, so that's it for Zombicide and Eldritch Horror.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. And then Lee, you've got another one on this list that we both really enjoy.
I do. It's Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective.
Yeah.
So this one is, you have a big, huge map. And you have a baseline story. So you are trying to solve a mystery faster than Sherlock Holmes can.
Yep. We are basically what's known as the Baker Street Irregulars, which in the books, the Arthur Conan Doyle books, were the little, the scamps that he would bribe and pay to go and do his bidding, Sherlock's bidding for him. And we are playing those people, and we're trying to outdo Sherlock. We're trying to figure it out so we can impress him.
I have not played this game enough. I enjoyed playing this game. It's fun. It's challenging, and it's a whole different kind of concept to a game that we don't normally play. It's not pieces to be moved around, and it's not, it's a map, and you have to figure out where on the map you need to go to, and then there's this book of reference, and then you have to keep all of your notes and figure out all the clues. And I really enjoy that.
It's really
game.
a sandbox, and it's kind of a choose your own adventure style idea, because you have this map of London, and for every scenario, you start them in order, and for every mystery that you start with one, and you have one newspaper for the week leading up to that mystery, right? And that newspaper has all kinds of stuff in it. It's like a double-sided piece of paper, and it'll have, ads from the time period and news stories. And it's up to you to figure out what you can use for information.
The weather, everything.
It's got everything. And you can use that and news about what's happening in the town. And you can use that. And then you have what's basically the phone book for London. And you can look up any address, and it will tell you, you can look up any name of any kind of person or business, and it will tell you where it's at on the map. And then you can say, well, let's go there. And there's a book in the scenario book. You turn to that place that you find in the directory, and there's a passage. Whether it's anything or not, it will most likely have something written in there about that section of town. And it may have something to do with your investigation. It may not. It may be a red herring that leads you in the wrong direction and makes you think something else. it's tough. Like the reason I think we don't play this game more is because it's an undertaking. Like it's a couple of hours at least to play.
But it's so much fun.
But it is fun. I think it's only a 2-player game. Like
no, the three of us did okay.
No, we did so bad. Like me and you did the first. You and I did the first mission and solved it and got a pretty decent score. As soon as we brought a third person in, we brought Vaughn in. The ideas just become convoluted, and it took way longer.
That's just because I agree with you more than Vaughn does.
Well, that's true. He wants to argue about everything. but I just think it really lends itself to either being a solo game for someone to play by themselves or a 2-player game where you can just kind of feed off each other and like, you know, say, I really think it's this. And you're like, I really think it's this. So you only have 2 things to choose instead of like 3 or 4 or however many, because you can theoretically play this game with 12 people if you want. It would be crazy, but it's really, really good. And it has actually been they've taken that system and made a Cthulhu version of it called
Really?
Mythos Tales. And I don't have it for only the basic reason of we have all this Sherlock Holmes consulting detective version that we haven't even come close to finishing all of the cases for. So,
and don't think about getting rid of it either.
No. And now there's 2 expansions for it. So there's more scenarios.
Don't buy expansions.
No, I understand. But if we ever do get through them, there's more out
This man,
there.
I swear to you, he just
have to have the
he
expansion.
buys expansions. But if we play it one time, he now owns all the expansions that goes with it, and then we never play it again.
You got to have the expansions, babe. You don't know what you're missing if you don't have it, then you know you're behind the times.
Behind the times.
I don't know. Yeah, it's the acquisition disorder is what that's called.
Yeah. So can we go ahead and play this game like maybe this weekend or something?
Let's play at Legends of Andor and Sherlock Holmes Consulting Detective and Eldritch Horror
and Mice and Misfits.
No, yeah, I'm definitely up for it. We've got your friend Lois coming in from China. I don't know that a deduction game based in the 1800s would be really the thing to pull out.
What did we play with her when
Lois.
she was here last time? We played that dice rolling game that she said she actually played in China.
We played Liar's Dice. Yes,
Yeah.
It was so funny. We played Liar's Dice, and I'm teaching this game to Lois, who's a native Chinese person, and she's picking up on it really fast. And then about a couple of turns in, she's like, "Oh, we played this in China." And I was like, "Oh yeah." And then I found out like it's a huge thing. It's like as big as mahjong there, where they have whole betting dens full of playing Liar's Dice. So I had no idea. I just pulled it out because I thought it'd be easy to teach with the kind of the language barrier.
What are some
and stuff.
games we can play with Lois on Sunday while
I don't
she's
know.
here?
We'll have to put some thought into that. But she likes playing games because she's super
does.
fun. But I don't think Sherlock Holmes might not be the one to
Sherlock Holmes may not be it.
So
maybe like more Camel Up style.
Yeah, that might work. Camel Up would be great. So we have one more game on our list, which you do not remember by looking at the box here. It's Defenders of the Last Stand. It's designed by Richard Launius and published by 8th Summit Games. It is the follow-up to his game Defenders of the Realm, which I kind of mentioned briefly earlier because Legends of Andor is sort of the same style of game. It's basically a post-apocalyptic Mad Maxy style themed game where you are these renegades trying to survive the nuclear apocalypse. So you got this map of this burned out nuclear wasteland, and there's these 4 different factions of criminals that are trying to take over and control the oil depots and just basically kill you off and come and take the last free city, which is called The Last Stand, and you're trying to protect it. Your whole point of the game is to protect that city, and they start incrementally moving closer and closer, and you have to go around the board and do tests on basically your abilities for like radiation, poisoning, or scouting, or special abilities like that. And all the while you have to pull these encounter cards which will make these different gangs move closer and closer and closer, so you have to then deal with them. By getting certain colored dice, you get by doing certain action cards or certain mission cards, you can get these colored dice that correspond to the colors of the different bosses, and you have to have that colored dice in order to roll against them to kill them. So after you've acquired enough of those dice, then you can try to attack that guy and the different bosses and try to kill them. You're shaking your head like
I
you've
got
never
nothing,
heard of
babe.
this.
I got
but
nothing.
We played it. I guarantee you played it. Now, the drawback of this game, again, is setup time is about as long as playing the game. There's so many pieces, and you have to put them all in the right place and just to get it set up. There's like 100+ miniatures in the game. They're really cool, and they're like there's a motorcycle gang and a technology gang.
Well, I will say that it sounds the way you're describing it that it's not my normal kind of game that I like the theme of it.
The theme is not.
I'm not
your
that. That's
favorite,
not
no.
my kind of theme. So maybe that's why I don't remember it because that's not really like. Oh.
Well, we only played it once, and I did all the setup and just called you down one night to play it. And you liked it, as I recall. You weren't like your socks weren't knocked off by it, but it's very similar to Legends of Andor. It's that same thing where you're just protecting a thing and you're going around trying to. The other thing about that one was that we just did the intro scenario. And it was pretty easy because I've heard how hard that game was, and then I was like, oh, we beat it pretty easily. So again, it was like, you're like, really? That's it? That's all we got to do to win? And, so, but that's one of those games that, again, that I wanted ever since I heard of it because I love the theme, that Mad Max, a post-apocalyptic type thing. So it's a game that I would like to play more, sort of like Banner Saga. I would like to get it out more.
Come on over.
Whether or not we will play them together, I don't know. But I thought I would give it a shout out because I have never played Defenders of the Realm, the original game that it's based on. But I prefer this theme of the post-apocalyptic.
So I thought of another one while you were thinking, or while you were talking. I was thinking.
You weren't listening to
I
me,
wasn't
man? You were
listening.
hanging on every word.
I
And
wasn't
you were
listening.
swatting at this fly that's flying around here? Yeah.
Okay. I don't remember the name of it.
Oh, that's not surprising.
I'm sorry. It had something to do with time. And the first one we did it was in a
Time Stories, but we're not even going to talk about that right now because
but that's a co-op game.
It is, but we're going to cover it completely in all of its glory and all of its misery, and we're going to cover that along with these escape room games because I've got a whole bunch of escape room games lined up for us to play. But I want to throw Time Stories in with that because it goes into the idea of these new style games of just these disposable games, these games that you play once and you can't play them again.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to do a whole episode about that.
Okay, all
so,
right.
yeah, you're right. Time Stories is a great co-op game, but, well, it can be. It can be bad, but it can be great. But we're going to cover that in a future episode where we talk about just this new style of these disposable play once type games. So, you're right, though. Time Stories is great. So again, that wraps it up for Defenders of the Last Stand. And now we're going to move on to a new segment that was also given to us by the Podcasters Association of America. They syndicate out this news minute from Box News where you get all of the spin and disinformation that you could ever want from board games. We're going to throw to them right now, and we'll be back with our final segment of the show. Hello, this is your Box News Minute. I'm Gillo Smiley. In our top story, corporate black hole Asmodee has pulled yet another board game publisher past its event horizon, announcing that they have acquired the Cracker Barrel Old Country Store. So now, if you want your triangle peg game or checkers with a burlap sack board or any of those down-home hillbilly games, they'll come with a map pricing structure and quite possibly a Star Wars or Game of Thrones reskin. Yeehaw, indeed. In other news, the Federation of United Zombies has filed a class-action antitrust lawsuit against both the Viking Coalition and the National Union of Cthulhu Cultists, accusing them of collusion to monopolize the board gaming theme market. In a statement, the union head of the Cthulhu Cultists had this to say. Interesting. That's your Box News Minute. Keep it tuned here for more from Box News, putting the ooh back in board game news. All right, we're back for our final segment of the episode. IRL. Okay, I think I'm getting carried away with that.
Right.
Whew, that's rough. I don't know why I do that. I don't know why I started that in the first one. I feel like I must keep it up till now. But since you haven't stopped me, I guess we'll keep doing it.
I can't stop you, honey. There's no stopping you.
All right, so IRL, in real life, what's been going on, babe?
Well, I
heard you
ruined-
had a little bit of an incident with some feminine moisture problems.
Oh my God, don't say it like that. That's so gross. I was jogging and I stuck my Google Pixel phone in my bra, and I now have ruined the camera of my Google Pixel phone. It is full of boob sweat. It's a thing now. I
don't know. You must have some very potent boob sweat,
Shut
babe.
up.
It's supposed to be a water resistant, waterproof phone.
I've dropped that damn thing in the toilet, literally in the toilet, and it worked fine afterwards. I shove it in my bra to go take a 3-mile jog, and I come back and it's ruined.
What does that say about the hygiene of your boobs?
Babe, what that says is that I was booking it.
Yeah, you were booking it. Yeah, you made enough heat that the inside of that phone just could not help but produce moisture.
Ugh, we've had it in the bag with full of rice. I've tried the hair dryer. I don't know what else to do.
It's not gonna
I'm
be repaired.
Screwed.
You sent me this video and you're like, babe, you can follow this video and fix my phone. And it was like, just pop the screen off by heating it up with a hair dryer and using a suction cup to pull it off, and then remove 15 screws and then pull this part off. There's going to be more glue here, but I don't recommend using a hair dryer. Just pry it off of there. And I'm like, your phone will never work again if I start doing that. So I'm
so disappointed because I take that everywhere and take pictures with me.
It has a great camera on it too.
I know, it has a wonderful camera on it. And I'm getting ready to go to Hong Kong in October, and I don't want to carry my big honking camera with me.
Carry your DSL camera around. That's it.
Oh, God.
Because you basically right now it looks like an 80s soap opera it has like Vaseline on the lens.
It looks like Vaseline
and stuff.
on the lens. It's horrible.
It's perfect for intimate photos, but boudoir photos.
Shut up. Okay, what's next?
So that's Boob Sweat Gate.
I'm sorry, everybody.
All right, really the only thing I have to talk about is kind of a big announcement that I'll be talking about more in probably every episode from here on out. It is that the 417 gamers that I belong to here in Southwest Missouri are going to be putting on our first con next year in 2018, April 14th and 15th. We're going to be presenting the Moon City Con presented by 417 Gamers. It's going to be at the Oasis Inn and Convention Center in Springfield, Missouri. And you can go to mooncitycon.com for more information. And you can follow at mooncitycon on Twitter to keep updated on all the news coming from there. I think we're going to be small to begin with, but we're going to try to be classy and have a really good venue. It's a really nice place. And there'll be hotel rooms available. So if you come from out of town, we've got some really knowledgeable people that have been to all the big cons. They're veterans of BGG Con and Gen Con and Origins and Geekway, and many of them have been involved in all of these cons before in some capacity. And we decided to do it ourselves, and they kind of brought me on to help with artwork and just my general genius that I can lend to the project. And so I'm going to be designing the logos and the T-shirts and stuff like that. So go to that website and buy one of the T-shirts that I designed and help support us. We're going to be running an offer pretty soon. Maybe by the time this episode is up, the storefront will be up. And we'll have tickets, packages available with T-shirts for a discounted price and things like that. So if you're in the Southwest Missouri area, get down to Moon City Con and let's make it awesome. That's really all I've got to talk about. You got anything else, babe?
I don't think so. That's really about it.
You sleepy?
I'm very sleepy. I don't think I've been caught up since Nashville.
Yeah. You've been kind of deprived.
I have been.
Our kid's been sleeping in bed with us for the last 3 nights.
Every night. And so that's not letting me have much sleep either. So
yeah, we're kicking her up to her room.
Kick her ass out of my bed tonight.
I think we'll have to. I got to let her go to sleep first so it's less painful. All right. Well, that's the end of episode 4, the Not Safe for Worker Placement podcast. We hope you've enjoyed it. We've had a good time bringing it to you. And we'll end it like we end all of our podcasts. Oh, there you go.
God, I'm sorry.
The old Meeple Shart Supreme. On that note, we'll see you next time for episode 5, where we'll talk about some such other things having to do with board games.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thanks for listening to the Not Safe for Worker Placement podcast. You can find us online at nsfwppodcast.com, on Facebook, NSFWP Podcast, and on Twitter at NSFWP Podcast. You can also find me on Twitter at Meeple of Madness. So give us a comment and your ideas for the show. Let us know what you think and what we can do to improve. And then come on back next week for more greatness. See you then.